And welcome back to another devotion. I am Pastor Roy here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa, and this devotion is for Tuesday, January 28th of 2025. We are in the book of Acts, and last Thursday we got to chapter 8. We just looked at the first four verses on Thursday last week. Today we're going to take another small bite. We're going to look at verses 5 through 8, but we're going to back up and read verse 4 also, so 4 to 8, if you will. But this section is the beginning of the section that the Revised Standard Version, which is the translation I'm using for this study because I like the RSV for whatever reason. The RSV calls this Philip preaches in Samaria. So that should tell you we've got an interesting little bit of dialogue to go through for the next few days. Samaria, of course, is a region that the Jewish people didn't think a great deal of. There was a lot of animosity. Hopefully you know that. The whole story of the Good Samaritan was so very controversial because they didn't like the Samaritans. They didn't like the folks in Samaria. And the reason for that was because when the exile happened, Samaria was part of the Jewish community. That was part of their territory. And those folks were left behind. They took the people out of some of the other areas and took them off to Babylon. And the people in Babylon worked really hard at keeping the lineage, if you will, pure by not interbreeding or intermarrying, I should say, but interbreeding is what happened. Intermarrying with the other, what they would say were the pagans or the Gentiles, if you will, the folks in Babylon. But what they would do, and this is a fairly common thing that happened with ancient militaries when they're trying to control an area, they would take people out and bring people in. So they brought in other people from other areas they had conquered into that region. And the Samaritans, rather than being, rabid about keeping their lineages pure, if you will, they ended up intermarrying and interbreeding with these outsiders. And so they tainted the line, if you will, and the Israelites didn't think so much of that when they came back from exile. And so therefore they looked down their noses on the Samaritans. Now the Samaritans believed in the first 5 books of the Pentateuch as well. They worshiped the same scriptures, with some exceptions. They would worship the same scriptures as the Sadducees. So it's just a crazy thing in how we can be so incredibly bigoted as human beings, but they were very much despised and looked down upon, much worse than probably anything we are dealing with in our world here in the USA. Other parts of the world, not some, yes. Here in the U.S., we haven't got a clue about oppression, folks. We talk about it at length, and the church moans about it. We got nothing to talk about, not compared to what was going on historically. But that's another story for another day. At any rate, here we have Philip going into this region. Without further ado, let's take a look at verses 5 to 8. We're starting with 4, so 4 to 8. Now those who were scattered went about preaching the word. Philip went down to a city of Samaria and proclaimed to them the Christ. And the multitudes with one accord gave heed to what was said by Philip, when they heard him and saw the signs which he did. For unclean spirits came out of many who were possessed, crying with a loud voice, and many who were paralyzed or lame were healed. So there was much joy in that city. I would say so. They're very, very excited because these people that are ill and possessed and all of this are being healed in a very dramatic fashion by Philip. And Philip, of course, came on the scene back in Acts chapter 6, verse 5. He's one of the 7 selected to wait tables along with Stephen, who was the first martyr. Stephen was also doing signs and all of these things, plus preaching and debating and all of that. And here's Philip doing basically the same thing. He's preaching the word. He's proclaiming to them the Christ, it says. And the multitudes with one accord gave heed to what was said by Philip when they heard him and saw the signs that he did. It's interesting. I mean, the unclean spirits came out of many who were possessed, crying with a loud voice. And remember, the apostles tried to cast out demons, and they couldn't do it. And Jesus had to come and do it. And But that was before Jesus was executed and resurrected and ascended. Um, so he's no second tier, if you will. He's not the first line. He's not a first line apostle, the apostle that came on during the life of Christ. But by golly, the guy's doing some wonderful and miraculous things. He's doing God's work. And he is very much not doing what he was called to do, though, is he? He was called to wait tables. He was called to menial tasks. And again, just like in the story with Stephen, we can really see something there that we can apply to our own lives. We may come into the faith doing one thing, and we may have one task to do, but that doesn't mean that our task is not going to change. That doesn't mean, and that's one of the reasons I don't like the gift assessments that people do, spiritual gifts. I think that tends to have people to zero in on, okay, I have the gift of this or what have you. And that's what I focus on. And that's all I can do, because I can't do that because I didn't, on that gift assessment, I didn't show up on that. We become self-limiting, and we're not limited in any way, no matter who you are. God can use you, and he will use you if you are open to it, if you are receptive and you listen to the discernment that you're hearing in the voice that you're hearing. If you discern that voice, say it the right way, Roy. Discern that voice in your quiet little head, and you move out in faith. You can do great things, just like Stephen, just like Philip is doing, and he's going to be doing for probably the next couple of days. We're going to talk about what Philip's doing in Samaria. Of all places, to be doing it in Samaria. It's just really remarkable. It is remarkable that he even went there, for crying out loud. The Samaritan woman and all of that, you remember from Jesus' story, Jesus' lifetime. But it is a wonderful thing, and it shows that they really listened to Jesus, that this was supposed to go to all the world, and all the world meant the Samaritans as well. That's what I've got for you today. I'm going to stop there. We're at 7.5 and rolling. Have a blessed day. If you enjoy these devotions, if they give you anything at all, please do like and subscribe. Come on back again. That's the most important part. Come on back again. We'd love to see you. If you want to share them, please do. If you want to make a kind comment, please do so. All right. Take care. God bless. God loves you, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.